Well, here we are again. How to win with Kruleboyz in Scourge of Ghyran. This is the very end of July 2025. Let's get started. But first, a big shout out to all my patrons. Barian for the channel art and Baron of Dice. Before we start, I just want to say that I'm incredibly happy to be here. Kruleboyz have been on the losing end of the meta for as long as I've played Age of Sigmar. I think that they've been good for 3 or 4 months in the entire 3rd edition and 4th edition, so maybe 3 or 4 months in 4 years. But right now, they're actually good. And I think, got my fingers crossed, that if they do get quote-unquote nerfed in the upcoming months, we're going to see some points increases. But right now, I think the army is fun. I think the Scourge of Ghyran rules have been good to us. And I'm hoping that next season we'll be able to get more interesting things to keep us going, because yeah, as we'll talk about it as we get through this, but I'm just really happy to be here. So a TLDR of the army, a quick army overview. So Kruleboyz relies on large amounts of mortal wound output, but has poor base saves and some very minor 6-up wards and like a egomaniac 4-up wards. Like most destruction armies, all of our abilities are tied to dice rolls. Our core abilities are tied to dice rolls. We can be somewhat mobile, but we do lack cavalry. We have some minor teleports. We have the Scourge of Ghyran, Nashtooth, but we have no cavalry, none whatsoever. We are a very high skill ceiling army that doesn't let you make mistakes. If you make mistakes, you're going to get punished, and if you get punished, they might be game ending. We are a very high skill ceiling army. What does high skill ceiling mean? It means that very good players can pilot them incredibly well, but players that are not very skilled really struggle. They're not like Iron Jaws are a much easier army. You put stuff on the board, you march it up, it has good saves, it's fairly straightforward. Kruleboyz is not. We have some seriously good anti-monster tech. This is, of course, with our Monsta-killaz and our Killbows. We have decent shooting. 18 range, 2 ren, 2 damage bolt boys are pretty good shooting. Maybe the best shooting in destruction. Probably the best shooting in all of destruction. I think we also have the best wizards in all of destruction too. And the rules in our army match the aesthetic of the army. We really are sneaky ambush villains. So, battle traits, dirty tricks. So our battle traits are called dirty tricks, and there's 4 of them. The first one is Venom-encrusted weapons. It's once per army in your hero phase, and is one of our 2 very essential tricks. I'm going to assume that you know what all these are. I'm not going to go over all the details of everything in all the slides. I'm going to assume that you know what things are. If, however, you don't, I would recommend checking out Age of Index. Age of Index is a free website that just has all of the rules for all of the everything. So you can just, show battle traits, and here they all are. So if you don't have that, then feel free to follow along. Sneakin is one of our weaker tricks right now. It used to be very good in the index of 4th edition, but is no longer. Now it's only when required. Do not have a plan about doing sneakin. You only do it when it's absolutely necessary. Lethal Surprise is another one of our tricks that we're gonna kind of skip most of the time. You only use this trick if your dirty trick die is already high. So if you're rolling a 5-up, for example, you might as well try a Lethal Surprise. The only other time to do Lethal Surprise is if it's really in a pinch, right? If you really need to remove that +1 damage, or if a unit is almost dead and you think that a D3 mortals can take it out, right? And then Noisy Racket is the other of our 2 essential tricks. This is, of course, our Strike Last. So between Venom-encrusted weapons and Noisy Racket, those are the 2 tricks that you're going to be saving for the most. 2-up, 3-up, 4-up, 5-up, they all get +1. So it's like a guaranteed 2-up, 3-up, 4-up is what we're going to look like. But Venom-encrusted weapons, of course, only needs to be done on our turn. So realistically, most of the time, you're only going to do 3 dirty tricks. 1 for free, a 2-up, and a 3-up. That is reasonable. Dirty trick modifiers. There's two things in Scourge of Ghyran that can modify our dirty tricks. The first one is Scare Gob Totem. Add 1 to dirty trick rolls for friendly Kruleboyz units while they're wholly within 12, or 18 if it has an infantry hero inside of the Scare Gob Totem, or for enemy units that are within 12 inches or 18 inches of this terrain feature. Very, very good. Just super consistency with our dirty tricks is good. And the other way that we can modify dirty tricks is with our Scourge of Ghyran Scumdrek. Earn a betting chip every time you fail the dirty trick, and each time you make a dirty trick roll for a unit that's wholly within 12, you can spend any number of betting chips after you see the roll, and you get to add 1 for each chip that you spend. So you get to actually... this means you get to fail a dirty trick, and then Scumdrek can spend his betting chips. So one of the times that you will actually use sneakin and lethal surprise is if it's not going to matter and you want to try to fail some dirty tricks to get some points for later on. But that is a tactic, that is something that you can do. But it's like if it's your turn and there's only 1 combat and you don't need a strike last, you know, like if you went second, it's like, well, okay, let me do a sneakin, right? Let me do a lethal surprise, and then we'll do a noisy racket, and we'll try to fail 1 or 2 of those, right? Just to build up some tokens. So if you do see that opportunity for Scumdrek, you can take advantage of it. So let's look at all of these dirty tricks in a little bit more detail. Venom-encrusted weapons. So this changes based on who is going first. You only do it in your hero phase, and it lasts until the beginning of your next hero phase. If you're going first, it's your first dirty trick, which means you get it for free. If you're going second, it's probably at least your second dirty trick, which means you're gonna have to be a 2-up, which is not hard to do. A 2-up is not difficult to do, but it does change if you're going first or second, so keep that in mind. It's best used on a unit of reinforced gut rippers by far. It's by far best used on reinforced gut rippers, and it's best used against high save units. Obviously, if you're playing against Stormcast, if you're playing against Ironjaws, if you're playing against Slaves to Darkness, against things that have like, you know, 3-up or Lord Help You 2-up saves, obviously throwing a ton of mortal wounds is very good against those targets, and it's worse against 5-up wards, right? 4-up wards. Anything that has a good ward save is going to be able to ignore some of our mortal wounds. Night Hunt, for example, getting like 6-up wards table wide and 5-up wards in places, super annoying. Sneakin is very good, but very good opponents are going to zone you out. They're going to just keep things around terrain, and it's really easy to zone out wholly within 3 inches of a terrain piece. And you're only going to use it when necessary. Right now, I'm finding the only time that I need it is when I am killing a key piece with Bolt Boys. So teleporting Bolt Boys into a shooting position so I can take out something that has, let's say, like a treasure, or just a unit that needs to die, like an infantry hero, like a wizard or a priest, or if for scoring. So like if sometimes you can go directly onto objectives. So that's really good. Or getting into the 4 corners of the battlefield, stuff like that. So only when necessary. Lethal surprise. So at the very beginning of the game, it's just a good idea to ask your opponent if they have any charge +1 damage. If they don't, you can just say, oh, okay, the lethal surprise is probably not going to be used this. Most often better to save your tricks for noisy racket, right? Unless you've already got a 4-up or a 5-up. Can be used on a monster to help with Monsta-killaz bait and trap ability. The Monsta-killaz bait and trap ability only works if, no, sorry, I shouldn't say it only works, but it works a lot better if the unit is damaged, right? Bait and trap, add 1 to the roll if the target is damaged, so it gives a 2-up strike last. So that is a niche way that you can be like, okay, I'm gonna put 1 point of damage onto this monster that's coming in, hopefully, so that I can give it a strike last on a 2-up. That is a niche use as well. Noisy racket, maybe our best trick, especially with the Scare Gob Totem. Creates very imbalanced combat encounters. It's like your opponent is coming in and you're going to get to fight. You strike them last, which means you have maybe 2 or 3 units all in combat with them that all get to fight before your opponent. You're just going to gang up and take them down. it's worth saving your tricks for. Your opponents are going to hate it. We love it as much as they hate it. Battle formations, there's only really one worth considering, which is Swamp Horde Bullies, which is from Scourge of Ghyran. You pick a unit, a friendly unit that's in combat with a unit that's in combat with another unit. So you have to be ganging up on a unit. You pick one of the units that is ganging up, and then you get to add +1 to the attack characteristic. This battle formation adds 50% to the number of mortal wounds that Gyarados can do. They go from 41 attacks to 61 attacks. That combined with Venom-encrusted weapons is nuts. They'll deal 7 mortal wounds with no Venom-encrusted weapons or ganging up. This is of course a reinforced unit of Gyarados, but they can do up to 20 mortal wounds with both ganging up and Venom-encrusted weapons. This buff also doesn't require any rolls. You just get it, you just pick. It does require some trickery to ensure beneficial combats. The Marsh Crawler is key. The Marsh Crawler is key for 2 reasons. 1, run and charge. If you need 2 units to get into a particular combat, being able to run and charge both is very good, and being able to spend a command point to auto run one of them 6 inches is very good. And the second reason is for redeploy and countercharge. It does take 3 command points to redeploy and then countercharge, because redeploy has the run keyword, so you can redeploy and then charge. But sometimes you gotta do it. If your opponent has really fast cavalry and they're gonna crash into a unit of Gyarados, and the Gyarados, you know, have the Venom-encrusted weapon buff, but you really want to make sure that you strike last them, you can redeploy and countercharge. It's worth saving command points for. Marsh Crawler is key. Heroic traits. Egomaniac is good with the Break-a-Boss to let him heal, right? You're just going to pass off wounds to... I like to pass them off to Monsta-killaz personally, because you only really need one Monsta-killaz to get the bulk of their abilities off, right? To turn off rampages and to strike last monsters. So that's what I like to do. But beyond that, I don't think Egomaniac is very good on anybody else. It's good on the Break-a-Boss because he gets to heal every turn, right? The Backstab his blade or whatever it's called is just bad. Don't worry about it. And Slippery Scumbag is good on the Vulture Boss. It can also be pretty good on the Gnashtooth. It makes the Gnashtooth, especially the... Oh no. Oh, my music. It makes the Scourge of Ghyran Gnashtooth particularly difficult to kill. Because even if your opponent does get their hands on him, you can then just Slippery Scumbag away. Which is an added... And then after that, he can just teleport the turn after that, right? So it's just a way of making the Gnashtooth even nastier. But if you're taking a Vulture Boss, you probably take Slippery Scumbag. If you're taking a Break-a-Boss, you're probably taking Egomaniac. If you're taking one of each, you get to make a choice. Scumdrek doesn't get to take a heroic trait. If you're taking none of the above, then who cares, right? Like Slippery Scumbag, I guess, on a Shaman, but you're going to be taking some monsters in Kruleboyz. Artifacts of Power. The Eye Biter Ash is just bad. You don't need to worry about that. To be honest, I don't even know what it does. Let's just have a look real quick, because it's just bad. Pick an enemy. So this is once per battle. Pick an enemy in combat with this unit to be the target. Subtract 1 from hit rolls and wound rolls for the rest of the turn. Yeah, it's just a once per battle thing. It's like, whatever. It's not very good. Mork's Eye Pebble. The ward is good. It's a 12-inch aura 5-up ward. It's only once per turn, and it only lasts a single turn, but it can be pretty good. And the Swamp Staff is the one that's the most often used. It gives +1 power level to a Swamp Call a Shaman. If you're running multiple Shamans, or if you're running like a Gobsprak and a Shaman, or, you know, if you have a lot of casts already, you could drop the staff and take Mork's Eye Pebble instead. But I do think that Mork's Eye Pebble is the default choice. Monstrous traits. They're all good. You can put Sneaky One on a Vulture Boss, but it might be the worst of the 3. Meanin on a Break-a-Boss is my personal favorite. It gives his big old clubs always +1 to hit, which is very strong because they just deal tons and tons of damage. The amount of damage that it goes up is kind of nuts. I mean, I have it here on my thing. Let's see. Break-a-Boss with Meanin, right? Like it goes from, it's like almost, you know, 3 damage increase, but against worse saves, it goes up by even more. But again, it's just a way of having extra damage, right? It's pretty good. Toughen can go on a Break-a-Boss or on a Vulture Boss. Essentially what it does is you ignore a Rend, which a lot of the time is going to sort of make them into sort of practically having a 3-up save. Most attacks have at least one ren, so most of the time it's going to feel like they have a 3-up save. Of course they have like a 0 rend thing that you're running into, but you know, so it's not always like a 3-up save, but it does make them much tankier. So it'll help with Egomaniac, with the Break-a-Boss, like you're going to be passing off fewer wounds because you're going to be saving more. It will actually keep the Vulture boss alive. He is kind of expensive. He's fast. He's not super fighty, so this will help him survive some rounds of combat and be able to be a little bit more effective. So I like to take Meanin personally, but Toughen is also a good choice. Sneaky in too, but I think if you're going to take Sneaky in, I think you want to have a very specific plan about how you're going to use it and what's going on. Our magic Lore of the Swamp, Choking Mist is still a very good spell. -1 attacks is a very strong spell. And if I'm remembering it correctly, Choking Mist. Yeah, it's an enemy unit within 12 inches. So Swamp-killaz should really be moving up. In previous editions, in previous seasons, the Swamp-killaz would like to stay back, but in this season they're not. They're moving up with the army. They're moving up so that they can cast Mork's Cunning. Prepare to cast this every turn. It's just +1 to save, and maybe even Choking Mist. We also have very good manifestations. We'll get to those in a sec. The Black Pit is our worst spell. It's just a 6-up Horde Buster, but it can be situationally okay, but you're probably never going to cast this spell. Mork's Cunning all the way, Choking Mist, and the manifestations of Gorkamorka. It might be the best manifestations lore in the game, if we're being honest. Foot of Gork going off on a 7. The turn you cast it, it gets to do its ability because it doesn't have the move keyword. So if we actually look at it here really quick, the Foot of Gork, if we look at it here, once per turn in your movement phase, you pick one of them up and put it down wholly within 9 of the other one. It doesn't have any kind of like keywords for like move or anything, so you can use this the turn that it comes into play. That's awesome. The Gork Rora is excellent for consistency. You already have a +1 Shaman. Now you have the +3 Shaman. That makes the Mork Spitmarsh go off on a 2. Right? Awesome. I mean, it can't go off on a 2, but you get my point. Makes things harder to unbind. It's very good. And the Mork Spitmarsh, what it really does when you read it is that it sounds like it turns off runs, but that's not what it really does. What it really does is it turns off redeploys, because redeploy is a run. So you can throw it forward at your opponent, put it within in combat with them, right? It's within 6, they can't redeploy, and now you're gonna run in charge with your Marsh Crawler to get into their juicy bits. That's really what it does, is it turns off redeploys. Just remember that. That's what it does. It doesn't turn off runs, it turns off redeploys. It makes it a much better tool. So let's go through all these command points and we'll talk about how you're going to be using them for Kruleboyz most of the time. If you're new to Kruleboyz, or if you're new to the game in general, what I suggest is that you come up with just a list of what command points you're actually going to use over the course of a game, and don't think about them. Be like, okay, so this game I'm playing with Johnny or whatever, these are the commands I'm going to use every single turn. I'm going to see how they work. I'm going to play it out. I'm going to see what's really strong, because some of them you don't really have to ever think about or use. So Rally for us is B tier. Use it when needed. If it's going to be really, really good for you, use it. And I should go through how I rank my tier list here. So S tier is you're going to use this all of the time. All of the time. Pretty much every single battle round, you're going to be spending 1 command point on this or more. A is you're going to use this often. It's very, very good. It's very, very strong. B tier is you're going to use it only when it's good, when it's situationally good. And F tier is you're never, ever going to use this at all. The only time I think I've given F tier to anything is for covering fire if the army has no shooting. It's like you're not going to use it, right? So Rally, you're going to use this only when it's totally necessary, but most of the time you're not. You really need to heal that monster. Your, Monsta-killaz only have 1 unit left. You need to bring a couple back, or probably more importantly, a unit of Gut Rippers only has like 7 or 8 models left, and you want to try to bring a couple back and a 2 or 3 turns of rallying, so you can sort of take down some big monsters, something like that, right? Magical Intervention, I say, is S tier. I will spend a point on Magical Intervention if I am going second every single time, so I can cast Gork Rora. Just so that I can, on my following turn, I can have 2 spells at +3 to cast. I will do that every single time. It's also incredibly handy if I cast Gork Rora on my opponent's turn, that on my turn, that the Gork Rora can come with me, that I can follow. And the Gork Rora does not... It's not a very difficult spell to cast. I mean, if we go back here, it goes off on a 5. So a Swamp-Killaz Shaman has a +1, and then Magical Intervention is giving you a -1. So it's still a 5 that you need. So I do this a lot. I love that manifestation. I love to get it out early and use it. Redeploy is B. Save CP for countercharging most likely. Again, we're trying to get things in combat so we can get ganging up. So I'm redeploying a lot less and I'm countercharging a lot more, but you can use them in tandem with a redeploy into a countercharge. At the double is S because of run and charge. I'm using this very, very frequently because like it's a huge difference. If you're wholly within 12 of a marsh crawler, you're gonna run every single time. There's no reason not to. You can run and then move 1 inch forward. There's no reason not to roll that die. So I'm using this to make sure that my charge rolls are very, very low at minimum, right? It's like, oh, like you're 10 inches away and I have a move of 5. So I'm going to move up 5 and have a 5-inch charge. Well, maybe I'll just spend a CP and move up as close as I can, so I only have a 3-inch charge. It's also very good at just like getting more of the gut rippers like lined up, like not necessarily having the first gut ripper closest, but having more gut rippers being closer so that when you do charge, more of them are within 3 inches to fight. I use it all the bloody time. Covering fire, I put as a B tier. Pick 'em off, which is a bolt boy and a kill bow ability where if they don't move, they get +1 to hit. Only counts in your shooting phase. So your kill bow is hitting on a 5 if you use covering fire, and your bolt boys I think also hit on 4s if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, pick 'em off is only in your shooting phase only. So the only time that I use it is if I really need to put some damage on a monster, maybe to enable bait and trap from my Monsta-killaz. Countercharge, I give an A. Get a second unit into combat for ganging up. Talked about this already. Forward to victory, this is reroll charging. Use it as necessary. There's a very important charge that you failed. Roll. All-out attack, I give it to B. Mortals don't need all-out attack. So any of your things that deal mortal wounds don't need all-out attack. It's a waste of a CP. I wrote in my notes here monsters only, but like for what? The Break-a-Boss is good, but I like to give him Meanin'. Stuff like the Vulture Boss and the Gnash Tooth, it's like only if you really, really, really feel like it's going to be necessary, right? This is where knowing stats like this is actually kind of useful. If you're playing a Scourge of Ghyran Gnash Tooth, for example, and you're trying to kill a monster that has, an infantry hero that has a 5-up save and has 7 wounds or 7 health, you know that if you use all-out attack, you're going to be more likely to kill him in that one combat, right? That you need to roll above average to kill him, but if you give him all-out attack, suddenly you can roll slightly below average and still kill that target. So it's only really useful in those kinds of situations with some of our monsters and our heroes. But most of the time you're not going to be using it. If you're new, just don't bother. All-out defense is an A. Save stacking is very good. If we do the poison and elixir +1 to save from the Swamp-Killaz Shaman, and then we do Morg's Cunning to give another +1 save, and our opponent comes at us with 2 rend, using all-out defense is still going to be good because we can ignore that 2 rend and still save on 4s. We are a bad save army, so save stacking is very good for us. But you're only really ever going to use this when needed, right? To like ignore rend. If your opponent has lots of rend or, what have you. Power through is B, but really I think it should probably be an A. We're only really going to be using this with the Vulture Boss and Gnash Tooth. I think power through is best used by cavalry. of which we don't really have any. So it's probably not going to be used all too often. It's good on Vulture Boss. It's good on Gnashtooth. Battle tactics. I think there's 3 that work better in our army and 3 that work worse in our army. So the 3 that are better: master the paths, kill heroes and play defensively, kill things that cross the middle. Those are all things that Kruleboyz can do fairly easily. We have shooting units that give us some range. We have some teleports, killing heroes, and then sort of focus firing things that we want to die that are on our side of the board is not that hard for us. We have good power projection in our shooting, so totally doable. Intercept and recover, hard time hiding from Scourge of Ghyran, Gnashtooth, and shooting. We can kill their targets that we want to kill. They're like, oh, like we have this 2-up save or 3-up save, you know, big reinforced unit of Ard Boys or something. It's like, well, we're just going to focus fire it with all of our shooting and kill it with our mortal wounds. Like we're killy and we can pick and choose our targets. So that's a pretty good one for us. Restless Energy, good if you build into it. Kragnos, Vulture Boss. If your list is geared towards Restless Energy, you can do Restless Energy. My go-tos are Master the Path and Intercept and Recover, personally. But it is still fairly early. 3 that I think don't work very well: Attuned to Ghyran. It's like, there's one where we have to retreat to and charge to. What are we retreating with? We have like shooting and monsters, right? Like, we don't want to be retreating units. We want to be doing the opposite. We want to be ganging up and strike lasting. So Scouting Force only works well if you have MSU Scouting Cavalry, in my opinion. Armies like Gloomspike Gitz can do this a lot more easily. But, like, I don't know. We're not getting our cavalry deep into opponent's territory. That's not how we're playing this army. So I don't think that Scouting Force is going to be good. And Wrathful Cycles, in general, I mean, I'm kind of coming around on this one a little bit, but I don't like to plan to be the underdog. I plan on winning. Especially in a tournament setting, you tend to not play all 5 of your rounds. So if you can just kill your opponent's stuff and get your battle tactics early, then you can say like, yeah, well, I got this many tactics already, so that's, you know, guaranteed. And then maybe you can talk your opponent into giving you 5 more or what have you, depending on the state of the game, right? But, yep. Key units. Swamp Call Shaman. He's going to be in every single one of your lists. A +1 caster with a +1 save ability. Manifestations are great. So you're going to be playing Swamp Call Shamans. Your list can start with 1. He's also so super cheap. I swear, he's the best caster in all of Destruction. He can be pretty easily a 2-power +1 caster for 110 points with a good ability that gives +1 save. He is a very, very good caster. You're going to play him every single game. Scourge of Ghyran Gnashtooth is a mobility backline threat that will annoy your opponent. You just deploy him. I deploy him super early, and I just put him at one of the corners of the battlefield, wholly within 6 of the edge. And my opponent, it's like he can go anywhere. He doesn't have to, you know, go and get your infantry heroes necessarily. He can just, maybe on some maps, teleport onto an objective. He can just sort of set himself up later in the game so that he's going to come up behind you and grab something out of your you know, your faction terrain. So he's annoying. He'll pull your opponent back. Break-a-Boss and Scourge of Ghyran Scumdrek are both very fighty monsters. They fill a little bit of a different role, right? Scumdrek is going to be better into infantry, dealing lots of mortal wounds. The Break-a-Boss is good against everything and doesn't rely on mortal wounds. He just has a lot more rend and a lot more, you know, attacks. The Break-a-Boss has a much smaller footprint, so he can fit in amongst your hordes a lot better. So if you're planning on running lots and lots of, you know, Monsta-killaz and Cut-rippers, the Break-a-Boss is going to fit in there a little bit more easily. But Scumdrek does have his little betting mechanic that's going to help keep your dirty tricks rolling hot. Gut-rippers deal the most damage and are more tanky than they look. We're talking before about getting +1 save, +2 save, +3 save, right? That plus a -1 to hit against them with their Scare Shields ability makes them a lot more survivable than you think. Also, because we're going to be trying to strike last our opponent, we tend to be taking a lot fewer attacks than your opponent would want to give you. So, and then again with choking mist from the Swampkalla, we can reduce that even more, right? We can really neuter our opponents. So Gutrippaz survive a lot better if you're really putting some resources into keeping them alive. Monsta-killaz might be the best anti-monster tech in the game. They're nuts, and they're so cheap. They're so cheap. They deal very similar damage to... They deal actually slightly more damage than 10 Gutrippaz with no buffs. And against monsters, they deal even more because suddenly they're at 2 rend. And then shutting off rampages, right? Not even just within 6 inches. Just shutting off rampages. There's so many good rampages, right? And it's a 2-up. It's a 2-up. Stop your rampage. Everything's a die roll and destruction, right? And then again, it's like a 2-up strike last. And this bait and trap ability and this bait and trap ability don't say once per turn. So you can just strike last all of their monsters. You're playing against Gargants, run 4 units of Monsta-killaz. Throw a unit of Monsta-killaz on each of those Gargants. They're all going to strike last, right? They do have to be in combat, though, so they'll probably die right after, but still. Shutting off rampages is once per turn. But, like, that anti-monster tech is nuts. Bolt Boys and Killbow are very strong ranged options. The best in destruction. Best casters, best shooting in destruction. So, play them. Bolt Boys are so cheap right now at 90 points. It's nuts. I play a Killbow in every single one of my armies, too, by the way. Just the psychological threat of your opponent. Like, everyone loves to run that one big centerpiece monster, and they have to keep it away from the Killbows. Marshcrawler is key to get infantry into proper fights. We've talked about this a little bit back and forth. Very key. Honorable mentions are Kragnos. People still have lots of success playing like Kragnos, a ton of Monsta-killaz, and a Vulture Boss. Also, another honorable mention is Murknob. He can sit inside the tower and just give a 6-up ward in the tower and be a shouty boss, which is good. The Vulture Boss is super mobile, right? And with Slippery Scumbag, he's hard to pin down. He's fast, which is something that we're lacking. And with Toughen, he can sort of have a 3-up save, like a fake 3-up save. And Gobsprek, buddy, keep coming down in points and we'll put you back on the table, I promise. You just got to keep coming down in points, buddy. You're not quite there yet. Regiments of Renown. Pure Kruleboyz is best because our abilities specify Kruleboyz. So you don't want to be playing any Regiments of Renown right now. We're really strong just as pure Kruleboyz. If you're really set on it, Dehertland Hogs, which is 2 Ironjawz Big Pigs, is fine. But you just want to play pure Kruleboyz. Armies of Renown. You can play Merkvast Menagerie, I mean, if you want to. It is significantly weaker than regular Kruleboyz. If you're going to play Merkvast Menagerie, it's not because you're looking at a competitive list. It's just because you want to play it because you think it's fun and cool, and you want to run all your cool monsters. That's cool. That's not what my channel really covers and talks about, right? Like, we're more of a competitively oriented channel. What's good, how to win, right? If you want to have fun with Merkvast Menagerie, go ahead, right? Big Wah is better than Merkvast Menagerie, but I still think that pure Kruleboyz is definitely stronger than a mix of Kruleboyz and Ironjawz. However, if you're going to play Big Wah, you want to lean into the recursion and play the best of both armies. So I like to play Kragnos. He fits in the army super well. You pick either Ironjawz or Kruleboyz, and he fills the role of one or the other. So I normally take him with Ironjawz, and I play some little pigs or big pigs. And then for Kruleboyz, I usually take a Swampkalla. Nope, I don't take a Swampkalla Shaman. What do I take? I think right now I'm taking a Scourge of Ghyran or a Nashtooth and shooting. So it's like pigs up front, shooting in the back, and the Nashtooth snaking around with Kragnos just sitting in the middle of the battlefield doing what he does best, which is sitting there, waiting for smaller fights to win at. But that's it. That's how to win with Kruleboyz. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you think that I missed, if there's anything that you think that I got wrong. If there's still any questions, please do let me know. Join the Discord. There's so many. I'm so grateful for all the great people that are hanging out in the Discord. Such a great crew. Come in, ask your questions, post your list. I'm sure that people will get back to you right away. Such a great group there. But until I talk to you there, like, subscribe.
Yeah.